Are you noticing that people are asking you certain questions about Christianity or religion or any of the adjacent subjects more now than they were 10 years ago? Like, are there certain themes or topics that are more front of mind for people these days?
Yeah, I think we've gone through a shift where when I kind of started in this endeavor of what I'm doing now, this kind of crescendoed in the last year and a bit. When I started out, I think people are asking a lot more, is God real? And is this true? And I think now people are asking, is God good? And I think it's because it's part and parcel of this meaning crisis thing. I also think that there have been some major moral issues. I mean, the whole Epstein thing right now, I think, is a testament to that. We are seeing examples of true evil. And I think that bothers people. And in a world where we can rationalize subjectivizing evil, we understand that is heinous. And if that is evil with a capital E, where's the good with a capital G? You know, C.S. Lewis, who I've quoted a few times, he said in his The Problem of Pain and Suffering, in that book that he wrote, that one of his objections to God was that there was so much evil and chaos in this world. He said, but what was I comparing that to? A man does not call a line crooked unless he knows what a straight line looks like, right? The reason you understand that there's rot is because you understand what something that's healthy is. And so there's an objective standard that needs to be weighed by these things. And I think more than ever, we're seeing things that really speak to the justice questions in terms of the meaning questions. And that has really interested me as someone I'm a historian, right? So I'm interested in the questions about, I do things like read Greek and Coptic most of the time, right? But I've been challenged to think more about the philosophical questions because I think we live in an age where I'm really encouraged by people looking at injustice. There's a lump in our throat. And I think there's a lump in our throat because Jesus put it there.
I think AI is going to have a big impact on your work.
Yeah?
And in ways that might not be super obvious. I think one of the ways is that if all these CEOs are true when they say that AI is going to cause massive job displacement, and even the CEOs that are building the technology have sat here and told me that there's going to be massive job displacement, there's going to be a crisis of meaning, people get a huge amount of work from the things that they do in their lives and they're not going to be able to do those things in the same way necessarily. And about 60% of Americans say they're worried that AI will take away the thing that gives them their meaning. Well, I think we're just at the footsteps of the crisis of meaning in this regard.
Yeah.
And that's going to mean that a lot of people, are going to struggle a lot. And that concerns me.
I mean, I think that's what I'm more worried about with AI. I'm not worried about AI taking over the world. I'm not worried about, AI replacing us or something like that. If I'm worried about AI, it's that. It's the pain and suffering that it can cause for people who have bought into the lie that the sum of their identity is in what they can contribute and do, and how the Christian worldview speaks into that. How can I think Christianly about a society where there could very well be mass identity crises because of unemployment, or because, the years ago we were telling truck drivers learn to code. Well, now coders are being replaced by AI systems, right? AI can code better than the coders. So
Spotify said yesterday that none of their engineers have written a line of code since December. And I thought, wow, fucking hell, that's...
Yeah.
And my car drives itself here in America. I sat here the other day with the CEO of Uber, and he said to me, they have 9 million drivers' careers, and within X number of years, they will have none. He said the unique thing is that the speed of the change is going to cause the problems, because we had the Industrial Revolution, we had time to transfer to other lines of employment, etc. But the speed in which there's going to be a displacement is going to cause the issues. And I wonder what's going to happen. I mean, a lot of people are, they're going to be in search of meaning, and I guess that'll push some people towards Christianity and other religions, but not everybody, because you said, as you say, when our identities are pulled away from us in such a way, some people turn to the bottle,
right?
Or causes mental health situations. So,
I mean, humanity has a very unique knack to pivot and figure things out Now, is there going to be, a Lou period in between when that job crisis happens? Maybe, but I think humanity will figure things out. I just don't know if that will be before all of, it hits the fan.
What was the first domino that fell for you that made you go on this journey of becoming is it the term Christian apologist?
Yeah.
What does that even mean, Christian apologist?
So I mentioned 1 Peter 3:15, right? But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord, always be prepared to give an answer. So that is that apologia. So we take the Greek word apologia and we stick an English suffix on the end, and we have this field, this study, this discipline, apologetics.
What does that mean? You're explaining the Bible?
Giving reasons,
Okay.
Giving answers. So apologetics is as complicated as arguments philosophically and scientifically for the existence of God and the historical reliability of the Bible, and as simple as if someone asks me why Jesus, that's an apologetic question, insofar as it's giving an answer.
I was looking at some of these photos of you as a young man. I wondered how much the situation in these photos had an impact on who you came to be and what you came to believe. I'll put these photos on the screen for anybody.
Yep.
But this is a young boy in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And in a hospital bed that looks to be paralysed.
Yep. Yeah, when I was 11 years old, I was diagnosed with a rare neurological condition that left me paralyzed from the waist down.
So at 10, you were fine, you were normal.
Yeah.
And at 11, suddenly you were paralyzed from the waist down.
Yes, so I had the flu, and my body's immune system, instead of attacking the flu, attacked the nerve endings at the base of my spinal cord, so the myelin sheath, and caused inflammation, cutting off the communication from my brain to my legs.
And a lot of people that get that disease never walk again.
It's complicated. So it's called acute transverse myelitis, although I've been told recently that there's a change in the name of the diagnosis. But essentially, transverse myelitis is not all that rare, but acute in terms of the quickness of it, I had fallen asleep, a nap, for probably no more than 30 minutes. And when I woke up, I was paralyzed. So it was the quickness of the actual damage that was done to my spinal cord that was the catalyst for, in the diagnosis, saying that the chances of me walking again were very low.
But within a month, you were walking again?
Yeah, 1 month to the day. So in fact, the 23-year anniversary was recently, because it was in February 8th. I woke up on a Saturday morning, got out of bed, and walked over to my wheelchair. Did
this change your perspective on God, Christianity, religion?
It did in some ways. I mean, I don't know how it couldn't. It definitely, to have medical professionals tell me, you're probably going to be a paraplegic for the rest of your life. Like, this is what you need to kind of accept and get used to the exact same medical professionals, the pediatric neurologists, saying, we don't know why you're walking. That had to have an impact on me, in that I think I truly believe I was healed, in that it was the doctors who used the word miracle, because they said that they couldn't medically explain why there was no more damage on my spinal cord, why I was walking with not even any atrophy or anything. However, I still needed to figure some of the more intellectual questions out of my head when I was a teenager. So it wasn't just that this happened and explained a lot, because I was open to the possibility of this being a fluke, of there being a completely randomness to this. Mm-hmm. And so when I was a teenager, I investigated a lot, to the best of my ability as a 17-year-old, in trying to answer some of the more meaning questions about, I know what my parents raised me to believe, but if I believe it simply because they told me to, it's not the worst reason, but it's also not the best reason. So is the first time that I read the Quran cover to cover. I was looking into things like the Book of Mormon and the Bhagavad Gita. I was just curious. That's when, reading Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, not in any type of faith crisis way, but I was investigating.
So you believe in the supernatural?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that we can speak to the dead?
No.
You don't believe that?
No.
So when people...
Well, I should preface that. It depends what you mean by speaking to the dead. I think it's possible. We have examples of it in the Bible. Saul gets a medium to call up the spirit of Samuel.
So do you believe mediums are telling the truth when they say that they're contacting people in the afterlife?
I think that there's a possibility of engaging the supernatural world, which is dangerous. And I think there's a very fuzzy line between mediums who are con artists and people who are actually engaged in something that is dabbling in the supernatural.
I say this in part because I've heard people say that, their partner's passed away and then they've seen signs. Their partner has left them signs. Do you believe in this kind of thing?
I don't think so. Not in those ways. I think when people are dead, they're dead. But I think there are aspects of the supernatural world and a world that's going on behind the scenes that's articulated within Scripture that have an impact on this world in a way that if people can be distracted and misled to think that they are contacting dead relatives, then that is otherwise going to prevent them from pursuing what they should be as image bearers of God.
So you think it's demonic in some capacity?
I think it can be. I don't think it's always. I think in emotionally vulnerable states, we are willing to adhere to all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sensitivity that I want to communicate around that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people, especially in the periods of the deaths of loved ones, often want to look for validation in their passed away loved ones leaving something or communicating or...
And also that we all want to believe when we lose people we love that they are somewhere better, that they are in a good place. And this is one of the things that I struggled with earlier when we were talking about hell, which is if such a small percentage of people are making it to hell by whatever measure of acceptance one believes, then that would mean that like my grandmother, who wasn't necessarily a devout religious person or a Christian or she hadn't repented, is currently in hell. And that's a hard thought to take, that she is in such an awful place now.
Yeah.
And this would obviously make people not want to experience that dissonance and therefore reject religion and say, well, no, if I accept the Bible, then I have to accept my grandmother is currently burning in hell.
Right.
And so I'm going to reject the Bible. It's much easier than accepting that my grandmother's suffering right now.
Right. I mean, ultimately, that's I wouldn't do it that way, therefore it's not true.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Well, I don't think that God should send my grandmother to hell.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to conclude that it's not true based on that type of... Now, at the end of the day, does God communicate with people in ways that go beyond my understanding? I've talked to enough Muslims in the Muslim world who've had dreams about Jesus to know that something goes on. Like, I don't understand sometimes what happens on the deathbed between an individual and their maker. So it's not my place to say that they are burning in hell or whatever,
Sure.
The descriptive language you want to use, because it's between them and God. At the exact same time, apart from the saving work of Christ, I'm going to hell. So, and I genuinely believe that, is that apart from the inbreaking of God into my life, in part and parcel by things like this, but also by like showing me and allowing me to investigate these things and wrestle through questions and putting people in places in my life that have formed me and shaped me and allowed me to look at the evidence and have conversations and be honest and transparent. And those are the things that have led me down a road to say, I'm convinced. I'm convinced that this is true experientially, that it is intellectually robust, and that it is experientially profound for me and for so many other people, your friend included.
What's the most important thing that we haven't talked about that we should have talked about, Wesley, for the people that are listening? I would assume they're very curious people. Some of them are religious, some of them aren't. What is the most important thing that we should close on in your view?
Part of my academic study is that I do what's called papyrology and paleography. So I make facsimiles of manuscripts, ancient manuscripts, particularly biblical manuscripts. So this is a biblical manuscript, right? P46. It's a late 2nd or 3rd century page from a collection of Paul's epistles. So
Paul from the Bible.
Paul from the Bible.
He wrote this.
Well, so he wrote that, and then a scribe in the 2nd century copied it down. So I made this. So this is genuine Egyptian papyrus. I'm only wrote on one side so you could see kind of how the papyrus is put together. And then I got you a nice Bible.
Oh.
But I have put a bookmark in the page where that passage is.
Why did you pick that particular passage?
Well, why don't you open it up and read it? So it's on the little inscription note that I have there, Romans 12. So you can see on the bottom there's the title.
Oh yeah, 12, 11, 12. So it says, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer, contribute to the needs of the saints and seek to show hospitality. Bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by so doing, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
So hopefully that's a good passage to
Beautiful.
Remember, think about. And then that's the box for it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful. Wesley, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next, not knowing who they're leaving it for. And the question left for you is, what is one risk that you should be taking in your life but aren't currently?
Where I am in my life, I feel like so many things have happened so quickly that there's like an aspect of unpredictability. And I'm just a little bit, my wife and I were talking last night, and it was like, we need to embrace what's happening right now. But from a year from now, if it's all gone, that's totally okay. Mm-hmm. And we're fine with that, whether that's, financially or with social media or opportunity and maybe the risk is pushing into that and saying like, maybe there's an aspect of that. Yes, I think it's wise to keep that in calibration and understand that if this goes away tomorrow, I'm content because this is beyond what I'm in a room sitting with Stephen Bartlett.
I'm in a room sat with you.
So there's an aspect of that which is completely mind-blowing to me, especially Wes Huff from a year ago. But maybe not selling myself short in thinking that, these opportunities are opportunities to invest in others in ways that people have invested in me over this last year.
What do you mean by that? You mean?
With some of the things that I've been very graciously able to experience and in giving other people opportunity to maybe push into trying to make an impact in their space.
Oh, okay.
And so encouraging them.
Pulling people up the ladder that you've been able to climb.
Yeah.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.